Hi everybody, hope everyone's having a wonderful week. It's another beautiful day here in Bernalillo, New Mexico. You can see the Sandia Mountains behind me, so I wanted to show you. I kind of like to do these videos outside since we have beautiful weather, and for everybody, since New Mexico is such an obscure state other than the balloon fiesta in Santa Fe, I want everyone to kind of see, give you a look. Like right behind me, those are the Sandias. They're about 11,000 feet. They are beautiful, tons of trails. So if you come here in October, the big balloon fiesta is the big global event. That is there's other things to do besides the balloon fiesta. In fact, over here, what I'm showing you is the Rio Rancho area. And that's basically where the balloon fiesta is at. They fly all over here. So to give you an idea, and this is in my Lynn Bradley installments. All right. So today we are going to talk about a supposedly numerous documented sightings of Lynn Bradley in Caracas and Batillo and Caracas, Venezuela. I'm not sure if I'm saying the last two correctly. Now there has been, and the reason I've stood by my premise that Amy fell off the ship, but I'm not into absolutes. I'm willing to look at and lightly entertain other ideas. I'm familiar with that area of northern South America and the southern Caribbean, so I find this quite interesting. And the sightings have been by numerous people, from men, women, children, older people. Now, are there specific sightings? There was a gentleman in 2009 who claimed that, and the reason I'm not going to put names or quote anything because it's YouTube, we're going with guidelines, so this is not for me, so this is for everybody to research and either debunk or read up on. He said, and this is in Caracas. Now, Caracas is capital of Venezuela, everyone knows that. Right now, as of now, Trump has sent battleships and destroyers within the vicinity of Venezuela because of political issues with President Maduro, who is horrible, terrible of what he's doing to the people of Venezuela. And Hugo Chavez, who was before Maduro, when people would have had sightings, they're claiming in 2009 and 2010, Chavez was the leader, and he was just as bad. Unfortunately, due to the fact that Venezuela, one of the most beautiful countries on the planet, you have the Amazon, beautiful, beautiful people, beautiful women, very beautiful culture, animals everywhere, just a stunning place. And it's unfortunate. Americans, the only way we can go there now is with a business visa, and you better have a very good reason, and you're taking a big risk, because they're kidnapping and detaining Americans left and right. And that's where this is a problem. Let's hypothetically say Amy is in Venezuela. I mean, she would be 50, 51. And I don't, if you believe she didn't fall off the ship and was trafficked or whatever happened, or wasn't unalived, she would be much older now. I don't know when in the 90s and early 2000s Venezuela was better for Americans to visit. So could the issue be, because we have the Carmichael sighting in Curacao, the gentleman who was the engineer who was diving. We have the Navy guy who I don't buy that at all. I would just disregard that because there's too much hair on that. I've addressed that in previous videos. But one young guy in the Navy drunk in a brothel in Curacao someone claims they're Amy Bradley. He doesn't. First of all, he didn't know who that was, didn't care. He's going to retire in the next 3 or 4 years. He's not thinking about anything regarding this case. And then the lady in Barbados, bless her heart, that's a tough one. I don't know what that was. I don't know what that was, but I would put a portion of that to selective memory, wishful thinking, and I'll tell you this much. She had an experience with someone who may have looked like Amy and 2 guys who were creeps. Something was going on, and there might have been a conversation similar to what something was occurring. But you know, it could have been happening. Here's something to keep in mind, and this is what, if you take nothing else from this video with the documentary, she talked about, and I wanted to, even though the title of this video doesn't address this as much, but in Barbados, the lady who claims that she had Amy Bradley approached her in a woman's restroom and came at her almost to the point of cornering her against a wall. And then these 2 guys, they had some sort of conversation about if she could see her children, and she was able to. And then they came into the woman's restroom, which was strange, and told her who was claiming to be Amy to leave. That you could say that happened. Not anything with Amy or not, but there may have been some situation that was not kosher where these 2 males were with a female and something was going on, something bad. And unfortunately, in Barbados is a beautiful island. And this is where, that's another thing, I'm gonna pick that apart. And that's some of the focus of this video, in addition to Caracas. The Barbados, one of the ABC islands, out of the 3, Aruba, Barbados, and Curacao. Barbados is beautiful. It's a very affluent island. You have people from all over the globe going there, more than the other 2. Curaçao's nice. Aruba's all right. It's okay. It's not great compared. There's better places to go to. It's okay. But Barbados is beautiful, stunning. You could have your honeymoon there, get married again, take your girlfriend, your boyfriend, and it's a place to solidify a relationship, to have a romantic experience. If you're single, you can go there. It's beautiful and feel alive. Meet people. People there are wonderful. This is another piece of it. If this would have happened in Aruba, Curacao, I'd put more weight on it. The fact that it was Barbados has very little issues. They don't have a whole lot of drugs or crime or this kind of behavior. They have some, but it's very controlled because it's easy to control Barbados due to the way the island's set up. All the ports are controlled. So if you're having someone kidnapped, then you are, if you're an island that's having these types of situations, are going to be islands like the Bahamas, Jamaica, Haiti, Dominican Republic, these not very well maintained islands with law enforcement, and they're not affluent. You're not going to really see this in Bermuda. Occasionally, I'm not saying it happens everywhere. It's just that, but the U.S. Virgin Islands, those types of places, Madeira Island in Portugal, just as an island, the Canary Islands, stuff will happen, but it's very limited. It's the places. So Barbados, this could have been a domestic situation, which is really what you want to chalk it up to. It's not Amy Lynn Bradley. It was not Yellow. I don't know why he would be there, because when she claimed this was happening, he was working on the cruise ship. So her story, and again, it's not that she didn't experience this, but it has nothing to do with Amy Bradley. So we will take that off the list. The Navy guy we will take off the list. Carmichael, he's a footnote. Nothing against him. Very articulate, well-spoken guy, and his story is odd. But you know, there's a couple things to look at. One, he made a comment. You can I can, when I say you collectively, if you look at him, I can look at him and tell he's short. He's just a shorter guy. He's probably under 5'7". And yellow is about 6'2", 6'3". Caribbean, a lot of Caribbean people typically are just generally taller, Caribbean males. So he made a comment about he was getting a dirty look from a guy who looked like yellow. And he didn't know who he was. So he sees the America's Most Wanted a couple years later and clicks in his brain. The guy's very intelligent. He's a computer engineer. His brain works that way. So it definitely holds weight. It has some weight to it. But I'm not saying that was Amy Bradley or that was yellow. It's one of these things like, how do I put this? It would be like the missing 411 phenomena, if anybody's familiar with that. It hasn't been disproved. Cryptids, things that some people say are nonsense, but they're not disproved. Skinwalkers, and it might sound insulting to put it into that vein, but I'm not buying it. I'm not dismissing it like the other ones. So let's talk about the Caracas sighting. Multiple people are sighting. The problem number one we have is it's Venezuela. So there's a language barrier. People are not, they don't have electricity in a lot of places. It's very North Korea-like, especially in the capital. Caracas is very dangerous. It's one of the most dangerous cities, probably as dangerous as a Mogadishu, Kabul, the capital city of Damascus of Syria, the capital city of Yemen, which is on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember. These are dangerous cities. But Caracas is probably worse depending where you're from. And for anybody. There's so many scams run, traffic scams, robbery scams. So people are trying to survive. They're not worried about a missing young lady off a cruise ship. But nonetheless, you have a Caucasian woman. There's a different shades of Venezuelan, but a lot of people are typically darker. So you're going to stand out if you're Caucasian. Especially her. She's green-eyed, so like me, she's very fair. If you have light eyes, you're just generally fair because of genetics. So if you go to these places, you stand out. Why do I say that? What's the point of that? Because people are gonna notice and wonder why you're there. And Venezuela has never been. It's not Peru. It's not Brazil. It's not Colombia. It's not Ecuador. And I say that in terms of there's no Machu Picchu that everyone's going there. There's none known of, and that's for a whole nother video. The Amazon is as ancient culture as ancient Egypt. It's been mapped, and a lot of archaeologists don't want to recognize that. But there are, and unfortunately, which is as bad as what happened with Amy Bradley, what they're doing to the Amazon, the logging, the destruction of one of the most amazing ecosystems on the planet. I don't want to get on my pulpit here, but I think everyone watching would appreciate this as someone who's traveled extensively through that part of the world. And the people are beautiful. And I'm not talking about just looks, just warm, welcoming people. As a foreigner, you really see a global connection, especially with indigenous people there, which are fascinating. You do have people who've lived in the Amazon and have been relatively undisturbed, and leave them alone, please. I mean, they see hikers occasionally if you're there looking for animals, but you're not. You need to stay away from them. You know what? I've visited with some indigenous people. in Colombia, and amazing people, and there's a respect level there if they're comfortable. But keep in mind, we have different immune systems, and so if you're curious about this, book a tour with a professional tour company if you want to do that. You'll see another world, but don't go wandering, because second of all, you will become unalived. The Amazon is not an amusement park. It's not a zoo. It's not Six Flags. You have the most dangerous animals other than parts of Africa. You have jaguars, which actually, out of all the big cats, interestingly, jaguars are the most dangerous, and they're the smartest. And all the big cats can unalive you. You have anacondas. You have bushmasters, which are basically giant rattlesnakes with no rattles. You have fertilances. You have a lot of venomous snakes that hide out. Wait, folks, I'm in New Mexico, the Southwest, the pure desert. Look at this. We have massive western diamondback rattlesnakes here. And there's, if you guys have a look at the Sandias. Check that out. Filled with rattlesnakes, but it's beautiful, and they generally don't bother you. But what's really interesting about it is that the desert, I mean, bad things can happen if you get in trouble here, but you can see everything pretty much. Some of the snakes will blend in. In the whole Caribbean and the South America, you're not going to see things because you have so much foliage. So don't go looking for people. Don't do that, please. Back to Caracas. There have been many sightings there, documented sightings from people, and this is the reason that we don't have names. There are names, but they're very limited. But a lot of it's not going to be published online because of the culture of Venezuela. It's of Caracas, Venezuela, but Caracas, capital city. Maduro's there. I was just talking to a friend from Venezuela last night. She had no electricity for the night. She was using her phone. It's horrible what's being done there. It's North Korea in the Western Hemisphere. And when I was in Guyana, beautiful place, wonderful people. They're building Guyana up with the oil. The Essequibo River runs. It's on the west side of Guyana. It's in between Venezuela and Guyana, and filters in to the north into the Atlantic. And Maduro's trying to control it. It's hundreds of miles of shipping, and I have videos about it. And he's trying to get a control of it because of the oil. Guyana's former British colony, heavy slave trade in the 17th, 16th, 18th, 17th, 16th, 19th century, those 4 centuries, very big there. They got their independence in 1804. They're emancipated. They've been building up since. It's a very diverse culture, and yes, it can be dangerous, but I gotta sell Guyana because I had one of the most wonderful places. It was so much fun. I got to see it for the first time up close. Crocodiles, anacondas. I got to play with not a little, but she was, and I have a video of it. She was in a rescue, a sea otter, the sweetest animal ever. So Venezuela's bad, the politics. Now, let's talk about how could have Amy Bradley ended up in Caracas, and why does that actually, if you believe she was trafficked or kidnapped or whatever. I'm of the camp, as I pointed out before, that she fell overboard. But I'm entertaining these things because, as an investigator, I'm going to look at this in all different routes. So, if we look at that, and why Venezuela, why Caracas, why not anywhere else in the Caribbean? And it actually makes perfect sense. And again, if you believe she was kidnapped, it would probably be the most probable place. And there is, and the Netflix documentary does not go into detail, and I'm going to make another video about that, about the email they received. It's a very strange clip about her being buried in El Batillo, and they gave coordinates, and then Iva, the mother, says, we checked the coordinates, there were no coordinates. They just glossed over that. First of all, she's incorrect, bless her heart. It's I think they misunderstood coordinates. I'm not saying that email, I think we all remember that part of the documentary, which was terrible, where people were sending horrible things that happened to Amy. That, I'll tell you, just, I've seen that happens all the time in these types of cases, with, especially with young females and females in general, of where sickos, creeps, people will say they know what happened and put something gruesome in there when there's an outlet for that. I mean, you can only imagine law enforcement, how many weirdo bad tips they get. But these types of America's Most Wanted, or the show with Chris Hansen, To Catch a Predator, the Bradleys, similar. The Bradleys have a command center set up. I don't know if they still do. It was big. They still have it. So people they have nothing better to do, and they're going to send sick things. So I just, God will deal with them, or whatever deity you believe in, they'll be punished. So let's talk about that, though. Why Caracas would make the most sense. So she gets taken off the ship. However she's taken off the ship. If she were taken off the ship, something must have occurred where the staff, Yellow, or whomever got her off the ship. She did not spend much time in Curacao. This is most likely what happened, because I really did this almost like a math equation with calculus. Yellow really is not an intelligent guy. Well, really, it is not. It's very hard to see him doing much of any type of planning this, but there might have been other people involved, or there might have been. I know he's a villain, but I think he's picked on. I think he's just a schmucky guy who probably was inappropriate with women. I would have, if I were the brother and my sister tells me that a guy on a boat tried to feel her up, I would have gone and caved his head in. I would have been put in jail in Curacao. I understand that Brad, he was young, he was trying to, and Amy, bless her heart, was kind of like, I'll just let it go. She was she was cool like that. But that's not cool. I'm not saying she was just like, let's just not have trouble and all that kind of thing. I would have, and I think many of you, men and women, if that were your sister, or my sister, my niece, my cousin, a very close friend, we live in a world now where that is completely different. You'll go to jail for anything close to that, and it's gone the other way. But that shows who he is, because if he's doing that to her, he's doing it to other people. But that's who he is. That's who he was. But we'll take him off the table. They get her off the ship. Probably, maybe, but one thing with him, maybe someone he knew, or someone's. They get her off the ship. They get her to Curacao. They get her to, and if the intention is some malfeasance, and the traffic thing, I don't buy that at all. But if something, if it was anything, they were obviously trying to exploit her in a sexual, horrible way. Venezuela has animal trafficking, obviously drug trafficking, of course human trafficking. It's much easier. There's no checks and balances. They bring her to Trinidad and Tobago. It's very easy to go straight to Venezuela in the port, and then to go to Caracas, and that's whatever occurred. And she had stayed there, and people saw her. And that's where these sightings are most likely coming from. It would make sense more than the ABC Islands, especially Aruba, because with Aruba, let's say the Natalie Holloway thing would have X'd that out because everybody was hyper vigilant. Barbados, again, I've gone over that. Other islands, Trinidad and Tobago are going to be, there's been sightings there as well. And those aren't, Trinidad's not touristy. Tobago is, but Trinidad has a beautiful carnival in February. It's great. But it's not, it's really very cultural where it's a local thing, local Caribbean thing. And it's so far, Tobago's great beaches and all that, but you're taking very long flights. It's a lot of just flying to get there when there's other places to go. I like it because it's not touristy, but if you don't want to do all that, that's a problem with it. So that's this addressing Amy being seen in Caracas. If we're doing a hypothetical here, then yeah, that would make the most sense. She's not going to be in Brazil. She's not going to be in Colombia. And I'll tell you why either places. Because there's a different, much more structure in both of those countries. And they have human trafficking, but not like Venezuela. And if you're in that area of the world, that's the place to do it. So this more and more is coming out that was not in the documentary, and I want to help people understand it and see if we can help the family. But the bottom line of all this, the only thing that's going to help really get closure is we need bones. That's all we have. And as we talked about, the jawbone that washed up a few years ago, and it wasn't Natalie Holloway, but a Caucasian female, but the family wouldn't test it, and that would have at least disqualified that. I don't know where that is. I'd like to talk to Brad, the brother, talk him into doing that, because that would give something. I mean, that would give some kind of closure. But it wouldn't guarantee anything with falling off the boat for because then it could go into, well, someone just put her in the ocean. But it does, the whole totality of it is that it washed up on Curacao. If we start having bones wash up in South America and other parts of the Southern Caribbean, and Central Caribbean, and they're hers, that's getting into something completely weird, but that's a very outlandish idea. So there's a lot more videos coming out that are about Amy Lynn Bradley, and almost all of them are just retelling the story that I think everybody knows. I noticed Court TV is going back and forth with it. There is one guy I'd love to interview, and though I don't agree with him, I think he has a great heart, and he's so articulate, is Chris Fenwick, the gentleman who was on the boat, who was, if you remember, he talked about he worked for a sales company out of San Francisco, and the best salespeople won a trip. So his role was to go on it, but he couldn't enjoy it. He was to make promotional videos, like nothing special for the company. And it was a way to show this is a great company to work for. And the reason he's significant is because he had video of Amy dancing with Yellow and the brother and all that stuff. He's been on a few podcasts, and he is tremendous. Just to listen to him, I could listen to him over and over again. I'd like to talk to him more because there's more he knows, and though he is of the he comes from the camp of she was trafficked, so I respect that. That's what he believes. I just don't see how that's accurate, and that's a dialogue I want to start. Really, I would like everyone who believes she was trafficked to, if you can, how was she trafficked? How was she taken off the boat in the time she's taken off the boat? She's got to be taken off the boat in Curacao. There has to be a time. They can't just shuttle her somewhere else. So they bring her in Curacao. You have the cab driver. There's another witness, but that's another one that I think he means well. I just think it was something else. But let's say you have this cab driver, says she wants a phone, and for all you people who are not old enough, there were pay phones, and people rarely ran around with cell phones in the late 90s. So she, the thing is, how do you all think she's taken off the boat? Then what happened? Was she kept in a flop house in Curacao? And then where they talked about there's some bad people who had access to, they had their own ports and boats and they could get her off. Like that whole thing with the Tic Tacs, which is just meaningless. The father said she loved Tic Tacs, so it could have been her. I know he's under duress and his mind is immediately going to that. That doesn't have anything to do with anything. And then that old man, they pulled over because they heard Amy's voice. But that's very common of a very stressed family losing a loved one. But there is a value to that. That area of those shack type houses, they could have brought her there. If you believe that, and then shuttled her took her on a boat to wherever, got her out of that area, took her to South America, or someone kept her and brought her there. But what do you all think exactly happened? Because a lot of these theories are just vague. And the falling off the boat isn't vague, because she falls off the boat between 5 a.m., 6 a.m., maybe earlier, that whole around there when her father sees her and then doesn't see her. She falls off the boat and she unalives in the water. She drowns. And the boat probably has some inertia that causes her, she can't swim and all that. We've discussed the swimming, that doesn't matter in that area, because they were not at port. They were close to port. But yes, the water's better in terms of the volatility, but you still have a lot of currents and you have the boat still going. She didn't fall at port. So that was a situation where it was one and done. There's really nothing to that, unfortunately. If you fall from a height into the ocean and you don't survive. But the trafficking, everyone says trafficking, kidnapping, abduction. But what happened? What are you thinking? I'm not looking for, I know it is very nebulous, but what everyone who's studying this, what do you think? How did it happen? Did she go through all these steps and get shuttled to Caracas and was walking around there and living there? I don't think she's not there. She's not there now. Someone would have seen her. Because she is an American citizen. Keep that in mind too. She is an American citizen no matter what. If she were still alive and in some kind of trouble and got reported to an embassy, it is this government's, the United States government's, it is their duty to investigate and help an American citizen in duress. If she is stuck in Venezuela, God forbid, we have no diplomatic connection there. Venezuela, Iran, Yemen, North Korea, obviously. We have very little diplomatic connection there. So, in these countries, no, we have none. Excuse me. Forgive me. These are countries we have none. We have zero. We don't have a presence. We don't have embassies there. There's nothing. If you get in trouble there, the best you can hope for is for the Swiss embassy or the Swedish embassy to try to help out, and they can do nothing. They will do nothing because they don't care and they don't want to get involved. Not to throw shade on them, but just a heads up. You're on your own. So, at the end of the day, to close this out, Caracas would make sense if there are sightings. I think she fell, but if I were to go the other route, I can see Caracas would be where she would be or was at. I can't imagine. Just think about this too, mental health for the trafficking, kidnapping, abduction people who believe that. Think about mental health. This is a young lady, has a great life, young girl, very happy, healthy, athletic. She's not a bum. She is physical. She likes to, she's very active. She loves to socialize. She loves to dance. She grew up in a different. It's not like now where she grew up sitting in front of a computer. Like to go out, had friends, socialize. Had her family, very close to their family. This is came from an upper middle class environment in Virginia, in Chester, Virginia. Going from that type of world to horror, being kidnapped, being held, your life is completely changed. Mental health would deteriorate extremely quickly for any of us, anyone who has that happen with no hope. So that's another thing. These sightings, the way I look at it, if what people believe, the kidnapping and the where she would be, Caracas makes sense. But all of them, they just don't know. You really wouldn't last long. Your mental health would deteriorate. Any human being coming from being in that environment, not having your family, all that nonsense about with pings on the website. And if it's her looking, people ask, why isn't she? It's not her looking. She would definitely reach out. She's not playing games with her family. If she were around, if she were alive. So, I love more dialogue. Let's see if we can get Chris Fenwick, if I can get Bradley on a live podcast with all of you, and if you feel my idea that she fell off the boat is completely incorrect, let's do that. If anyone in Caracas, who's been to Caracas, who's been to Venezuela, has any contact with her, please reach out to us. Reach out to me. I am going to reach out to the family because I know how to operate down there. And if we could probably work with, if anyone here could get a business visa so I can get into Venezuela, and a legitimate one, so I don't. It's like Libya. You need the same thing. There's Americans who try to go into Libya just to see it, and you're done if they catch on. A legitimate, for what I do, I work for public sector, so I can't use that on any level. But if there's some idea to get into Venezuela, I will go there. I will fly there on my own reconnaissance. I just need this visa. make sure everything's safe, there's been the right contacts, I can get into the country. That's all. I fly into Caracas. I want all the leads, and I have some of them. Some stuff I'm not going to disclose on this podcast. And I will go and look for Amy for the family. I will go to those locations and look for Amy. I will get a cadaver dog and look for Amy. And I am 100% serious about this, because I'm 100% confident. Some people might think this is crazy. Look, I've spent time in the Congo, I've spent time in Haiti, I've spent time in Burundi, you have the genocide in Rwanda, I have probably spent time with dangerous wildlife I shouldn't have. I'm not saying I'm some kind of Indiana Jones. I'm saying that I'm comfortable, and we'll come up with a plan to be fine and maybe find something. So if you have any ideas about that or anything, I'm going to reach out to the family and discuss that, and I want to do it in a very respectful way. Please comment, reach out to me. But thank you everyone for watching this video. Please be safe, take care of yourself, and take care of your families.